Hey, what's up, guys? Another video here. So today I want to talk about being a quote-unquote model minority. So as you guys know, I am Asian American, specifically Korean American, but the people who do get the preferential treatment or they aren't really exposed to racism per se in the United States are Caucasian or quote-unquote white people in America. But today I just want to have an open discussion about how minorities have to deal with racism per se, in some aspects. So let me give you two instances where I have experienced racism. So the first instance of racism that I experienced personally, so I'm giving an anecdotal experience, is or was at the workplace in 2007. So I was just starting out my corporate career, and of course, you guys probably know about the 2007 incident at Virginia Tech University, but nonetheless, an incident went down there and involved a Korean individual. I believe he was Korean, not Korean American, but he was Korean ethnically. So that did have some repercussions. I did feel uneasy at places because someone of my exact ethnic minority, they did that horrible thing, of course, which I don't condone at all. But you have to keep in mind that people that do these things, they don't have much going on for them in their lives, and they don't have a social network. They don't have anyone to talk to, or they don't have anything going on with their lives, anything productive. So that's why they do it. But anyways, this individual did this thing at Virginia Tech in 2007, and what happened at my workplace is I had a white individual, and he stated to me, "You're not going to kill us all, are you?" Something like that. "You're not going to kill us all." So I was shocked, and you have to keep in mind this guy was probably, I want to say low 40s, low mid 40s, and he had a son. And it's kind of a shame that someone like that is raising a child kind of in that way where he's not sensitive to racial issues. And you have to keep in mind that the area I do live in, the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia area, there are quite a lot of East Asians and all kinds of races. So it's pretty diverse. But it was a real shame that he had to do that because the issue was so contentious with the incident at Virginia Tech. So naturally, when I said that, I was taken aback. I was like, I was just surprised. And of course, now I'm not one to snitch or anything. So what happened was, luckily, I had a Filipino coworker, similar age to this white coworker. He actually reported to HR, and what happened was, I got a very forced email apology from this white individual, this white father, and he couldn't even apologize to my face regarding what he just did. But anyways, I'm not so sensitive about the race issue, but I was still surprised, like how someone could be so callous and they didn't have any type of self control or tact to not bring that up because you can't paint people with a broad brush. But these type of immature individuals, they have no racial sensitivity to these kind of issues. It just leads to a problem because it's going to perpetuate itself, especially upon the teachings of their kids. So naturally, that was my first really serious corporate exposure to racism, and I didn't really experience anything close to that nature. But when I do, because I went to school in Illinois, so I would drive from the Maryland to Illinois, and you had to go through areas like in Ohio. It just feels really uncomfortable going through those areas because most oftentimes you're the only Asian person there, and it seems like these people haven't really seen Asian people throughout the their daily living occurrences or their daily lives. So it's kind of awkward going through there. You almost feel kind of threatened for your safety in some aspects. And when I did travel to other countries, for example, went to Bolivia, and I was treated more as a curiosity versus an animosity per se. So it was a little different. But anytime that you go into like a homogenous area, you're gonna have this feeling of, it's kind of awkward, and what do I have to deal with when I'm going through these areas, just to be aware of your safety. But just keep in mind that, if you're in a predominantly homogenous area, or if you're in an area where, all the power is toward one ethnic group or one skin color, or primarily through that one ethnic group or skin color, what's going to happen is you just have to be on your best behavior. So that's why I mentioned in this video, I mentioned model minorities. So people of color in a country that has predominantly all the political and financial power, you really have to be exemplary and don't cause trouble. Again, I'm not saying to be like an Uncle Tom, or just lay down to everything, but just be on your best behavior, because it's going to reflect poorly on you and your ethnic group if you act crazy, or if you commit crimes or do anything like that. But again, this applies to all ethnic groups and all groups in particular, or in general, but I think especially for minorities who don't have preferential treatment at the workplace, who don't have preferential treatment, for example, in dating. And for me, for example, I've dated across all skin colors. It's not really a problem for me, but it's not a surprise that most of my matches, or the most people I meet in person that I have interest in, are Asians, or are East Asians. So not surprised there. And again, it is my preference to date East Asians, but again, it just kind of works out that way. But you have to keep in mind that you won't get preferential treatment in the workplace or in your personal life or whatever. So you really have to make yourself stand out. And especially if you're dealing with the police. Again, I've been pulled over many times for traffic infractions with the police. Just be respectful of them. Just comply to what they say. So don't escalate things where you argue with them and cause them trouble, because again, you don't want to use your stance or your ethnic group or whatever to cause trouble and escalate a situation with, especially with the police. So just keep that in mind. So really, when you go across police or workplace, dating, anything like that, of course, treat everyone with respect, and don't cause issues, and don't perpetuate stereotypes with your ethnic group. I know a lot of Asian stereotypes, they really go with, you're good at math or martial arts, whatever, but they aren't too harmful for Asian Americans. But you know don't perpetuate the stereotype. For example, me as an Asian American, oh, Asian Americans are weak and small, timid, shy, nerdy. Try not to perpetuate those stereotypes, because it's only going to work against you, and it's only going to feed into that stereotype of, for example, Asian Americans being feminine, or if they are overly nerdy and shy, timid. So try not to feed into that if you're tied to a certain ethnic group, because you can't really, you can't control your skin color. So try to represent yourself and your ethnic group in the best light possible. So of course you're complying with laws, and be exemplary at what you do, so you gain respect. So for example, me as a powerlifter, I have respect across all ethnicities, all type of ethnicities and groups. Again, and it's kind of skewed toward Asians, so because normally when I go to a meet or go to a powerlifting events, it's mainly Asians that come up to me. But again, I'm not saying I'm an exception where it's only Asians. I do have people from different ethnic groups come up to me and say, "Oh, hey, Alex, you're so strong. I admire so and so. I follow you online, things like that." But always try to portray yourself in the best light, no matter what ethnic group you are. But again, if you are an ethnic group in a country where a particular ethnic group has the political and financial power and representation, you really want to be the best that you can be, and try not to exemplify or try not to perpetuate negative stereotypes that are in your ethnic group. And again, I'm only speaking as an Asian American, but really try to do your best, and of course obey the law like everyone should. But you really have to watch out for it if you are an ethnic group minority in a certain country. And the best way you can do that is, of course, be exemplary, be a good citizen, and try not to feed into the negative stereotypes of your particular ethnic group. So it was a little ranty, but I just want to stress to you guys that are minorities in your respective countries that you really have to do everything right. You have to be on your best behavior, of course, that applies to everyone, but you really have to excel and don't feed into negative stereotypes and be the best you can be. And don't use your ethnic group or race as a crutch, as something to use as for victim mentality, or feed into kind of hopelessness, or anything like that, because you're only going to be doing yourself a disservice, because you can be successful no matter what your race is, what your ethnic group is. And again, I'm just trying to come across a point where you really have to be on your game and do everything right if you are ethnic minority. So that's it, guys. Hopefully it wasn't too repetitive, but thanks for listening, and stay tuned for the next video.